All right, welcome back to Open Bible, Open Life. I'm Pastor Kyle, and we love kids, we love families, and we know the school year is approaching, and that's why I've invited David King and Leslie Vogel to the podcast. Welcome, guys, or is it welcome or welcome back?
Welcome
Welcome
back.
back.
Welcome back. I thought so.
Yeah.
Now, David, as I was thinking about you as we're sitting here, just getting ready to start, getting the cameras all set up, I was like, man, how do you get the last name King? What did your family, do you know your history? Like what, you see the last name Smith, you're like, okay, that guy, like your last name is King.
I don't. But I'll tell you what, LeBron James has ruined it for me because when I label stuff, they're like, oh, you think you're King David, huh? And I'm like,
Great. Dude, I didn't even think about that, dude.
Yeah.
Move it around. There you go, dude.
every time
Man, and Leslie, you have been with us since the very beginning.
It's true.
Can you believe that it's been 9 years?
No.
What,
it's
I mean,
crazy.
think about, before we get into families, let's think about your life before you got here, or right
Yeah.
when you got here. Take us on the journey, because we're going to talk about kids ministry, we're going to talk going to school, but probably 9 years ago, you're coming here, and you may not, you knew you were going to help us with our kids ministry.
Yes.
You maybe didn't know all that God was going to bless you with. Tell us that story real quick.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know how far to go back, but so a year and a half after David and I, not this David Vogel,
David Vogel.
and I got married, found out I had cancer. And so ended up walking through a really long, arduous journey with refractory Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so lots of treatments, lots of treatments that did not work. And then the Lord healed me miraculously through a clinical trial in New York City, at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital. So,
And that happens all, like, you're in remission, like, 2 years? 1 year, is it?
1 year. So I hit remission in the summer of 2015. And then in May of 2016, we moved here, to plant 2 cities with y'all. And then, in August of 2016, we found out we were pregnant with our first.
Yes, and you guys
There's a-
came over our house and said, we have something to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Did you know this? So Leslie and Dave come over our house, they go, there's something that's different about Leslie's body. We're like, no, like, like what? It was something like that you guys did. And then said, hey, we're pregnant. We rejoice with you guys. And now you have 3 beautiful
I have
kids.
3 kids.
And what are their ages?
Ellie is 8 and she is going into 3rd grade. Isaiah is 6. He's going into 1st grade. And Edie Jane is 4 and she'll be in pre-K.
Okay. And then your kids are different ages.
Yes, my son is headed into high school. He's 14, and my daughter turns, my first daughter is 12. Then my second daughter turns 11 tomorrow,
Come on.
and then my youngest is 9.
All right. So we're kind of in it together, but you're a little ahead of me. You've got someone going into high school.
Just a step, yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the school year, and the life is seasonal. We thought about this as a staff. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast. That the idea of understanding seasons is actually part of even just however we understand the development of humans and how we learn and how civilization was produced. That basically, one thing I read said that as soon as we understood that there were seasons, as soon as we understood that after winter comes spring, and then you could begin to dream about the future. You could go, okay, we're in winter, but spring's coming, or we're in summer, but fall's coming, or whatever it is. So obviously we're coming out of the season of the summer. We're going to hit this. We're going to talk about school year. What does the summer look like for your guys' families? How do you guys rest in the summer? Do you rest? Like, because your kids are in school through the year. What does it look like? June, July, August for you guys? Either of you. Both. I want to hear from both. I don't care who starts.
Yeah, I'll just start by saying summer does not seem restful. My family goes a million more different directions than we do during the school years.
And how so?
They've got camp. They start. My son started high school football and basketball practice
In the summer.
with the high school, yeah, and he's playing AAU basketball as well. My girls still dance, so there are a lot of things. We're still pulled in many different directions, and camp on top of that
Yes.
makes it.
What's your
crazy.
favorite? I mean, we're not paid to highlight any of these. What's your favorite camp to send your kids to?
We love Marywood. They've been
It's a local club.
Cleveland's right. It has, yeah.
I see the Marywood stickers on the back of lots of cars in our congregation. Yeah.
That's right.
Crossroads has impacted my older two quite a bit already. So I'm thankful for them.
Yeah, that's the student ministry and Clayton King and all them. Yeah. How about you guys? You're a little bit more than the little years, but what does it look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, summer's definitely different. A lot of moms complain about like having their kids home and on top of them all summer, and they're like, the joke's always like, when is school going back in? I don't really feel that way. I love having my kids home with me. They definitely can get wild and crazy, and there are definitely moments where you're like, okay, what are we doing today? But our family, we tend to summer is when we can travel the most, and so we usually schedule a couple of different trips to break things up. We try to do something at the beginning of the summer, something kind of halfway, and then something. We always go up to see David's family, go to the Jersey Shore the week before school starts, which probably people would think that's crazy, but it's actually a really nice, like, we're just going to get away for one last time and before the craziness of fall begins. So,
Do you guys have a lot of different rules in your home in the summer? Like, are the kids allowed to stay up later, or is it because at my house it's always like, well, we don't have school tomorrow. Like what is it? What changes in your home environment in the summer?
we're definitely more lax about a lot of things. There's more snacks consumed. There's more screen time. I'm a firm believer that like screen time is a strategic tool that should be used by moms when needed. But yeah, I mean, we try during the year to limit it a lot, but in the summer, there's definitely more of that. And we for sure stay up later. I think just naturally the sun's out longer and
Oh yeah, it's hard to put your
stay.
kids to bed when the sun doesn't go down until 9 o'clock at
Yeah.
night, and to them it feels like it's 6 p.m. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's 8:30, and you've got to get up tomorrow. And
Yeah, yeah.
how about last thing, and then we'll talk about school stuff. Is how involved are your kids in like the life of the pool? So because I feel like growing up that was a huge part, and then I never did swim team. I mean, I know how to swim, okay, freestyle. That's about it. Maybe backstroke if I had to. I can doggy paddle, but that's about it. But what I realized, and I don't know if it's a Winston thing, because my kids have basically grown up here, or I don't know if it's a North Carolina thing. I don't know if it was an Oklahoma thing
Not.
or an Atlanta thing, but like I did not grow up with swim team.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah, I swam my whole life.
So it was a big deal down there
so,
too.
yeah, so I put my kids into it, so we're very involved in it. My husband's not as thrilled about it as I am. We spend a lot of time at the pool. I think the older they're getting, the more time we're spending at the pool for sure.
Yeah, it was not a thing in Oklahoma, and when we came out here, our kids fell in love with it quickly, and really our whole family did because it was something so fun for them to do that was lighthearted and not super
Yeah.
hyper competitive,
Yes.
but enjoyable and made them better and stronger and all that.
Well, I'll tell you this too. I mean, if you're a new parent doing swim meets are long.
They're long.
They are.
I mean, they are long. Every once in a while, I
ridiculous.
look and I'm like, all right, William, you're doing number 4, number 18, number 32, number 64, number 89. I'm like,
Yeah.
we're gonna be here for 4 hours, and then afterwards, at least our pool, they always go out. So it's like we're going out to eat, we're going to the Loop, we're ordering pizza. So it's like it's a commitment from like 4 p.m. till like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
every Tuesday or Thursday for like 2 months. And we have those families in we're in a pretty intense swim club. Lowe's is part of it. The Vogels are part of it. But basically they have like we're the Sherwood Sharks. We've not lost for like 22 years. Like it's never lost. And so there are we're not this intense. There are entire families that they have their entire schedule where they don't go on vacation until after July 4th or whatever because they need the city meet to be done. And anyway, still all to say. So here, but we're not here to talk about the summer. But I wanted to start with that because I think there's I agree with you're saying, Leslie. I think there are some parents who go, okay, I'm ready. But I think there's a lot of people. I feel this way. I'm like, man, I love the summer so much. And it's you don't get that many of them with your kids, and it is the time to it's the time to go to the pool, it's the time to vacation, and then we're headed back into the school year. As you guys think about you've got obviously I'm a parent, I know parents, but you guys being in and over the kids ministry are gonna have more of a feel for it. How do you see parents? How are they preparing for the fall? How do parents prepare, and then how should we prepare to get our kids back in church maybe more consistently because we've been traveling and all that, and then how do you see parents preparing for that?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What do you got?
I think that, I'll speak I can't speak for all moms, obviously, but I'll give kind of the mom perspective. I mean, I do feel like there's a lot of preparation as far as like, what is our schedule going to look like in the fall? Like, what activities are my kids going to do? What nights of the week are going to be taken up? How, we need new lunch boxes. We need to buy school supplies. We need a first day of school outfit, like all the things. So I do think it piles up a lot of just the physical kind of preparations. And then, I get to this point in the summer and I'm always like, okay, I had all these goals for like how I was going to organize my home this summer, and like haven't done that yet. So you gotta knock that out. But so I do think these last couple weeks before school start can feel really overwhelming to us. And just like, I don't know how everyone feels, but like for me and a lot of the people that I talk to, it's always that tension of like, did we make the right school choice? Like, are we satisfied with, the activities our kids are, yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot
Yes.
that you have to plan for before, August comes. And so yeah, I think it can feel really overwhelming for a lot of moms.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the pool. One of the things that has helped us transition that completely caught my wife and I off guard was our kids decided, I think this was 6 years ago, that we were gonna do an open to close at the pool, and
Whoa.
that
That's a commitment.
it is a commitment, and but it became super fun, and it became a thing with some friends, but it kind of signifies the end of summer.
Oh, you do this on one of the last pool days.
Yeah, and
That's so fun.
it's really a neat thing because to our kids, it says, "Okay, the season is shifting."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing that, I never had thought about before, but it's been very helpful just for the mentality of that shift.
Wow.
So,
That's neat.
I think some of our listeners are going to take that. I don't know exactly when this will be released, but like, all right, we've got a couple days left at the pool or whatever it is.
yeah.
Okay, so as we head into the fall, we try to come alongside parents. We try to celebrate the transition. Talk, Leslie, a little bit, or David, but both. Maybe start, Leslie, if you have anything. Talk about and I'm probably not going to give it the right name, our move up day.
Oh, Promotion Sunday.
Promotion Sunday. 'Cause this is a big moment and talk about that. What does that mean for and are there big transitions in the kids ministry? I know there's the big transition of you're leaving kids ministry.
Sure.
That's a whole nother podcast probably with Rise Up and moving to, and my daughter Addie, I really enjoyed that. I said a couple weeks ago in the sermon. But like, how do we come alongside parents and go, hey, it's a school year and we're recognizing that your kid is transitioning?
Yeah. I mean, we decided, very early on that we wanted some churches will do Promotion Sunday at the beginning of the summer.
know that.
And some do it at the end. And we wanted to do it at the end because of Kids Week. We wanted our fifth graders to have one last kind of event with us in the summer. And so we try to recognize them at Kids Week on that opening night. But yeah, I mean, that's like probably the biggest milestone. And then the second biggest would be all of our rising kindergartners.
Okay.
So
And why is that such a big transition?
because the way that we have things structured in kids ministry, we kind of have our nursery walkers, and then we have preschool, and then we have elementary. And so content, the story is all the same for all of those ages, but the content is a little different, and those are kind of the big categories that we do. And so kids who are going into kindergarten, I mean, I feel like that's a huge milestone in the child's life anyways. Some kids are going from no school at all
Yeah, that's right.
to being in school all day long, every day. Some are, starting the homeschooling process, which looks different for lots of families. But it's kind of like you go from being a little kid to a bigger kid,
Oh, yeah.
And we have our kids' worship time where we put all elementary together. And that's kind of I feel like that's like the rite of passage. Those preschoolers are so excited when they get to go downstairs and go to
Yes.
big kid worship. And so we try to have, I wish I had looked at the date of when it is. Do you remember when it is?
18th.
August 18th. Thank you. August 18th is our Promotion Sunday this year. And so we will give all of our rising kindergartners a Bible. And we like to just remind them to hide God's word in their heart.
I love
And, as they're as you're learning to read this year and next year, like we hope that you read your Bible and, just kind of signify that for them. And so on that Sunday, all of the grade levels move up.
Yes.
So if you were, coming out of first grade into second grade, then you go to the second grade classes, so on. So our preschoolers kind of move up whenever they have their birthday.
Yeah.
But Promotion Sunday is really mostly for our elementary kids.
I'm excited. This is maybe a little bit of a sneak peek that we're
It was
excited
nice.
about coming for the new year. But something we are going to establish in our elementary program is the same thing that we do in our student ministry, which is if you start with a group, you move up with them. And this is not going to be a requirement, but it's going to be something that we're hoping that the kids will do that the leaders will do with the kids in order to continually build relationships with the same group of kids.
So in other words, somebody who's in the kindergarten class will actually move up and be their teacher in the first grade
Correct.
class, allowing, and we can get into this maybe, but with our student ministry, that's one of the great strengths of our student ministry.
That's
is
right.
that somebody, if they wanted to, could start with a 6th grade girl or boy and be with them for 7 years.
That's right.
And be at their graduation. That is so special.
Yeah. And we are just adopting that and taking it a step further and starting that in kindergarten. Not everyone's going to have to. It's not going to be required, but we're going to give them the option if they want to move up with their kids.
I love that.
That's really neat.
Well, one of the things I appreciate, I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast or even if I made a big deal of it on a Sunday, but I appreciate the different ways that, we're working with the very nice but limited kid space that we still have because of how our church and kids ministry continues to grow, sometimes 600 plus kids or more, just at this campus. And so here's the thing. What I've appreciated is as you walk, and any of our parents who are listening will know this, who've taken our kids to the kids ministry, you kind of where you enter is the smallest rooms, the smallest children, I should say. And you kind of walk around. And then what's really neat, and we've gotten creative in this in the last, I can't remember, you guys can correct me, in the last year or two, but I appreciate how you guys have tried to go, how do we continue? Because someone's in kids ministry for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
10, 11 years,
Mm-hmm.
of their life from birth till through 5th grade. But even my son, William, who's a 5th grader this year and was a 4th grader, obviously last year, the ability to go, we're going downstairs. And, we get to meet in that lounge area to talk about, and and even in this last year, our worship is a little bit more guitar and sounds a little bit more like the church, big church, quote unquote, big church that we're about to head to. Anyway, I know that takes a lot of work to go, how do we create a ministry with such a wide, everything from just love on them, pray on them, change their diaper,
Yeah.
calm them down, give mom a break, to how do we keep engaged those 4th and 5th graders who feel like, I'm ready to go.
Mm.
William was asking me in 4th grade, he loves kids, but I'm ready to go to, he's watching his sister. I'm ready to go to student ministry. Okay, let's talk about each age. So let's talk about the different ages of kids and their parents and what they might be dealing with, and I'll give you a little background. And this is like a new thought for me. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this, David, because you're right where I am, or if not a little bit ahead with age of your kids. I feel like people are very overwhelmed with their kids age 0 to 5. This is broad, but I think, in other words, what a parent feels like, and they may be the most likely to be like, I'm ready for them to go back to whatever preschool, whatever it is, because 0 to 5, obviously they need their needs met all the time. They can't be left alone. They can feed themselves, but they need a meal made for themselves. And then I would say ages 5 to 10 is, in my personal experience so far, maybe the easiest age to parent. They're little people. They do have their personalities. They're more fun. They're more interactive with you. They kind of have friends, and they're getting a personality, and they're beginning to do basic things like math and whatever, reading, and they're beginning to play like Y sports. That's like, one day a week, and for 2 months, and they have one game on Saturday. And then what I'm seeing in my own life, but I'm not here to interview me. I want to talk to you guys. But what I'm seeing now is my kids are 13, 11, 9, and my 2 older ones. In some ways, they need more attention than they did when they were 0 to 5, but in a different way. And what I mean is they're less family centric. They're more friend centric, which means they're out of the house a lot more. It means that sometimes they need to be taken places a lot more. Their academics are getting a lot more serious. Addie's in algebra. I'm like, oh no, I don't think I know how to do algebra. She's smart, but and then what's interesting is you have all these conversations now. You're not having usually real intense conversations about a phone with a 7-year-old, but you are with a 13, 14-year-old or 12-year-old. And then the athletics is becoming a bigger deal. So I kind of want to dive into some of that with you guys in the sense of I don't even know how we'll get everything, but I think I think in general, there's a sentiment for most parents of like, we just are too busy. And so I don't know if you guys have any best practices. It could be from your own life. It could be, sometimes for me, what I have to do is like, because we don't have a Bible verse for all this. I mean, we have Christ is first, Christ is king. But then it's like, it's more book of Proverbs than book of Romans for like, how do you organize your family? And I think there's more freedom. One of my mentors always says, look at the fruit, not the watering schedule. And a lot of times you think, I need a new watering schedule. Well, are you fruitful? And if it's working for you and you're not sinning, do it. But
I mean, I've heard that phrase. I like that.
Yeah, that's a helpful phrase. So, but I bring all that up to say, how do you guys think through that in your own lives? You got your kids at different ages, so I'd be interested to hear that. And then how do you see this with parents? Like, do you, and I'm asking lots of questions at once. We'll see where it goes. My last thing with this is, and you don't have to name them by name, but this would honor them. But do you see any families really doing this well? And maybe just tell their story without maybe saying their name. I don't want to embarrass them, even if they're doing a great job. But because I think what I've had to see sometimes is I've had to look at a family and go, all right, like, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, no one's doing it perfectly, but you're trying to balance Christ as the center. That's not balance, but you put Christ at the center. You're trying to, you realize that your son is going to grow a lot through sports.
Yeah.
And you care about his academics, but you're willing to pull him out of school because you know you need some family time. And it's just hard to do all that, and you realize it's real important to be in church together. And you're telling him he's got to be at youth group because that's important. But at the same time, you realize that this is that one tournament. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you navigate? Because I think when we can talk about kids ministry and some other things we do, but I think parents they view kids ministry. I think the average parent views kids ministry as like, I'm very grateful for it. Thank you for teaching my kids the gospel. Thank you for giving me an hour and a half break. And if we have time, we're going to be at the bigger events you guys do. But in general, I'm overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah. I
Speak to that.
I'll go first and give kind of the idealistic, and then you're actually in the thick of it. So you could tell me like what actually happens. But I mean, I feel this a lot. I think that I have 3 kids, and so our rule, like in my home growing up, was like everyone could do one activity at a time. We had like a 1 activity rule. So it was like I remember like so dumb, like at 8 years old having to choose like, okay, I'm not going to do brownies, Girl Scouts anymore because I really want to do swim team. Like I remember like having to make that decision because my mom was like, you can do one or the other. You can't do both, And so we've kind of always said that would be true for our kids. However, when you have 3 kids and then those activities, like we're still in the younger years, but it's like, our daughter, she wants to dance and now she wants to be in 2 classes. Okay, so that's twice a week now instead of just once a week. And then if each of them have a twice a week commitment or a 3 times a week commitment for their one sport, I mean, we're running all over the place all the time, And so it gets overwhelming, and then school on top of that, and church commitments, and work, and just all the things. And so something I recently heard from Justin Whitmell Early, who wrote The Common Rule.
Yes.
Um,
Great book.
He kind of addressed this on one of his Instagram posts, and he was talking about how what works for them is they try to have 2 anchor points in their week. And I guess it wouldn't have to be the same anchor points for every family, but for them it's Sunday worship. So sports can't interfere with Sunday worship.
Okay.
And then the other anchor point would be the family dinner table. So
daily?
He said 3 times a week.
Okay.
So if 3 times a week you can meet all of you around the table and have a meal together, no matter what time it is, but at least 3 times a week. If you're doing it more often, then you're not doing it, basically. And then you have church together, then those are kind of your 2 anchor points. And I found that kind of helpful as I was thinking through. And even those 2 things, though, I mean, you're going to have to say no to
I was
some
going to say,
stuff,
that's
I was going to say 3 times a week at the dinner table, 3 days a week, 4 days a week. My girls are at dance until 8 or 9. So that makes it very tough for us in our situation.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's not your anchor point. Maybe it's something else.
So what I like about Justin, I want to hear your answer, and we can keep going back and forth. But what I like about Justin, what's his last name again?
Early.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
It's like
he wrote the common rule, and then he wrote habits of the household. Common rules more individual, habits of the households for families. What I like about him is I actually feel like he's, in the best sense of the word, he is a very faithful Christian, but very modern person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he really does try to go, okay, if that doesn't work for you, but he doesn't put the bar so high that you're like, this is unattainable. But okay, like, can you be at worship together, and can you find a meal a couple times, or something like a meal, a couple times? Yeah, but you're in the throes of it. How
Yeah, so I want to brag on my wife because I feel like there's a lot of things you can be overwhelmed by, but one of the things that I think is the most overwhelming is just feeling the need to go to everything and get your kids everywhere. And my wife is amazing at this, but asking for help is huge.
goal.
It's huge. She has pool friends and neighborhood friends and school friends that she can ask. And if one of my buddies, we laughed about it because I offered to pick up his son at my school multiple times in a row. And he's like, man, I feel so bad. And I'm like, why do you feel bad?
Yeah.
We're going to the same place. Why do we need 2 cars? Like, let me save you the trip.
I think that's very practical and helpful.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just asking for people, whether it's carpooling, whatever it is, but just asking for help and using the village that you have to be able to manage all of the trips. You take, great, I'll pick up and we'll bring them back home. But asking and doing it collectively or collaboratively is
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I mean, I really want to honor you in this. I mean, you would probably be the person that or your family would be like, oh, I know the Kings. Oh yeah, I know the Kings. Oh, we did. And so I think that says, you know, to have those types of relationships, you have to do the investing, what you're doing, and you have the relationship. You know, it's like it feels a little different. I hardly know you. Can you pick my kid up? Or I hardly know you. Can I pick your kid up? It's like, no, you cannot pick my kid up.
Yeah.
You don't know. That's true. But I think that's a huge thing because I've talked about this before when I've done I do a little bit of a teaching for parents for parent commissioning. And one of the things I talk about is, and I learned this from Dr. Moeller, is that without grandparents, and I don't think any of us have grandparents that are living in town right now. Yeah, none of us do.
No.
The 3 of us don't. And they were just saying without grandparents, and then you add no grandparents in town, and then you add usually 2 people working in the home, even if one's part-time, and you start going, this is really difficult. You know, I mean, the amount of times where we've had to figure out, even within me and Margie, it's like, all right, you're dropping off, but then I'll pick up. But then when I pick up, I'll pick up dinner. You know, it's kind of like there's a lot of it's just real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can't be afraid to like you were saying, lean on people. Carpool is such a gift. Such a
It
gift.
really is.
We have a great carpool for school, and then we specifically pick certain activities because I know that family also is doing it so that we can ride home together. And yeah, I think that. And also, I mean, nobody wants to hear this, but like, it's okay to say no to some things too. I mean, I think we have to be okay with like, okay, my kid wants to do, 3 sports at the same time. Like, that's probably not going to work well for our family. So,
Yeah.
maybe they need to choose one right now, or even just like, oh, that game is on Sunday. Our family doesn't do sports on Sunday. Like, you're just going to have to tell your coach no. And I get the tension with that. Like, I get it.
So why we have a 5 o'clock service?
Exactly.
I'm telling you, there's been a couple times where we would have said no to something.
Yeah.
But William had a tournament on Saturday. He's in this fusion stuff. And it's like, actually, no, he can go. And they can come to the 5 o'clock services. It's not ideal. We don't want to do it every week.
Sure.
But having services basically throughout the day on Sunday allows a little bit of grace for that.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with that.
And like one-time things, of course, if you have a tournament or a whatever. I mean,
No. I'm with you. I mean, this is something that, again, back to my story right now, if William made this, so there's this thing called, a lot of our listeners will know about this, but there's this thing called Fusion Classic, which there's different levels of Fusion. And the Classic team's a little more intense, like coaches are not just like someone's dad. And William's a decent player. I mean, he's young, but he's a decent player. So he made Silver, which is like, there's like 5 tiers. Silver's the second highest tier. We're really excited. But you like don't know what's going to happen. Like you don't know when the practices are going to be. You don't know who his coach is going to be. And this is like real time. This is like 2 weeks ago. We find out that he has practice on Mondays and Wednesdays. So it could have either been Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday. Tuesday, Thursday would have been better for our family. But it's the Silver team Monday, Wednesday. So I call the coach. And I'm just like, hey, listen, it's 5:15 till 6:45 practice. And I just said, hey, William can make it every Monday. I said, but is it okay? We're Christians. Church is important to us. We have a student ministry. I didn't get into, I'm the pastor. I said, and is it all right if I picked him up at 6:15? Because that'll give us enough time to get to the 6:30 thing. And I think sometimes we're more afraid, or like he was completely fine with it. He's Spanish and he had a little bit of an accent. And he said, well, it's not ideal. And he said, and I kept calling it practice, and then he would call it training. Sure. Train. Yeah. But my whole point is, and I said, William, when you don't have youth, which happens every 4th or 5th week, you can go the whole practice. And he doesn't go into youth till the end of August. So I'm like, hey, listen, for the first couple practices, you get to go to everything. Anyway, it was one of those moments, and it's been cool because and the great thing is, and hopefully this will be how a lot of kids are in our church, William wants to go to youth. And so it's like he's trying to figure out how to do both. And I think this is sometimes where we need parents to step in and go, guys, our kids they're 11. they can't make all these decisions themselves. You got to step in and go, both of these things are important, buddy.
Yeah.
This is a little
Yeah.
more important, but we're as much as we can. Look, you're not going to miss a practice that you can go to.
Yeah.
But for right now, we've got student ministries. You can build all your friends there. Anyway, I see that as a big deal for people. A lot of used to be. I mean, Justin Mormon told me that there was years ago where they wouldn't have practices on Wednesday nights. I mean, this is just when Christianity haunted the culture a little bit more.
Yeah.
And like, we're just not, we know churches have stuff, but there
Mhm.
used to be nothing on Sundays. And now parents are, Larry Osborne, again, one of my mentors, he gives some talk, like 5 things that are changing the church. And I can't remember what number it is out of the 5, but one of them is, he said, club culture.
Mhm.
Just the all the time travel, volleyball, dance, basketball, baseball, and
Yeah.
it tends to consume our lives. And I'm now that I'm in it, I'm a little more compassionate because I know it's easy, like when you're not in it, it's like,
Sure.
your kid isn't even that good, what are you doing? But when you're in it, you're like, he's really learning a lot about authority.
Yeah.
Like, he's becoming a little athlete. Like, he's not going to play college soccer, but man, he's got like 3 of his good friends are on this team. Like, this is, and then you start realizing this is a great opportunity for our family to witness. This is my main environment where I'm around non-Christians, and so you're trying to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
What other tensions do you guys see young families, or we can move up, because I think people who listen to this are gonna think anything with kids is, I don't care if my kid's 17, he's my kid. But as you see, well, and you too, because you get to see both the student ministry and the kids ministry. But do you see other challenges parents have with getting their kids, putting Christ first, and keeping their family involved in the church even as the school year arrives?
I think I might. So just last night at student ministry, I had a thought that kind of connects to this, which is, um, parents can seemingly do all the right things as far as like the faithful anchors
Mhm.
with church and the different consistencies with scripture reading or prayer or worship time, do all the right things. But as the kids students grow up, they they need to make that decision on their own, and that can become overwhelming for a parent, that they have to actually make that decision. You begin to have that tension where it's like, I don't know if I should force my kid, or I don't know if I should just let him choose. And it's like,
Yeah,
that's a big tension.
I agree.
It's a huge tension. So, my encouragement in that is simply to not give them over to whatever their heart desires, but to spend time wrestling with that desire and having conversation and letting them grow up and make decisions for themselves. And then when those things happen, asking them and following up with them, do you think that this was the right decision? Would you have changed your decision? My son just chose Crossroads over a football camp,
Yeah.
and I'm so proud of him because it's his first time ever playing football. Like, this was learn how to hit week. This is the first time they put pads on. It's a big deal. It's
It's a big
probably
deal.
going to affect his playing time, but he chose Crossroads,
Wow, dude.
and God did some incredible things in his heart at Crossroads.
And
And
you let that decision up to him ultimately.
we let that decision be up to
Yep,
him.
yep.
And we were so thankful. And he almost went the other way, but he was like, no, I think I really want to go. And just so thankful. And it doesn't always end up that way. Some kids would probably choose football. But I think it's the conversation piece that
Yeah,
really
that's good.
helps to relieve
I love that.
and help that tension.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's so great and helpful, like including your kids in the conversation. Because the ultimate goal is that we want them to learn how to make those decisions, right? I think that I would like to speak about just the comparison factor
Yeah, I think
that
it's
I
real.
think
Thank you.
a lot of families face within the church and outside the church. But
Where do you see this, and what are they comparing? Their kids to other kids, or what?
yeah, I mean, I think that it's so easy now to get a peek into everyone else's life via social media.
Yep.
That I know, as a mom, like I talk to my DNA group a lot about this stuff. Like, we all kind of, discuss this a lot, of just like, if I were to write down everything that I should be doing as a mom on a regular basis, a mom who works, who, is trying to raise godly kids, her kids go to school and are in all of these activities and want, blah, 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 all the things.
Yep.
And then also just my personal life of like, oh, I should be discipling someone younger than me. I should be mentored by someone older than me. I should be in a DNA group and a community group, like all of these things. And it's like, if we were to list it out, like there's not enough time in the day to do everything. And I don't think that we're meant to be perfect at everything in every area of our life, but we see all these snapshots of other moms and dads and how they're parenting and how they're, handling things. And I think that it's so easy to compare. It's so easy to compare ourselves and find ourselves lacking and be like, oh, here's this checklist and I just can't check anything off. But I feel like, obviously the solution to that is that we turn to Christ and we put our focus on him. And I don't know. I think a lot of times what people will say, the anecdote to the comparison is like, oh, well, that person, you're just seeing a snapshot. They don't have it all together. You know what I mean? Like they're actually failing in this area, you're just not seeing it, which is true, I'm sure, because I don't think any of us are getting it all right all the time. But I don't think that like, I've been praying a lot about this. I don't think that's like the true anecdote.
Yeah.
Like I think the real thing is that we need to pray to have joy for them. Like, oh, you're killing it.
I can rejoice with those who are rejoicing.
Yes. Like you're killing it as a mom in this area. Praise God.
Yep.
Like your kids are benefiting and I can look at you and I can say, oh, I really hope that I'm going to pray and ask God to help me improve in that area, or whatever. And so I think that, a lot of time just needs to be spent in prayer and asking the Lord to give us joy for others and to celebrate when other parents are doing well and learn from them. There's so many amazing parents within this church.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like there's such a plethora of people that you could learn from and grow from, and not the response not be, oh, I can never do that, or I can never be good at that, or I'm failing at that. But instead be like, okay, Holy Spirit, help me. Like, how can I get better at that?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I speak into that? So one thing I was thinking as you were saying that is in that comparison, you see somebody and it looks like they're doing a lot of different things great. But one thing that we do is same thing with like New Year's resolutions. It's like if you do 10 of them, you end up like throwing them all out.
Yeah.
But being able to, for your family, for your season, choose one or two things and keeping it simple and just saying, this is what we're going to work on for 3 months or for 6 months, however long you decide, but letting the simplicity of growth in one area be what you focus on rather than the overwhelm that comes with focusing on a million different things.
That's good. And the truth is our kids are not, it's easy to compare and be like, oh, her kid is really academically gifted and I need to work more on reading with my son. Like her kid is really good at swimming. We need to do more practices. We need to do whatever. It's like your kid is not going to be good at everything that they do.
Yes. This is what you guys are talking about, just real stuff that people wrestle with. And I do think this was mentioned, but I want to highlight it. I think finding parents, whether it's same age or they got same kids or people who are a little bit ahead of you and go,
yeah,
help me in this one area. I think that's the humility of it. It's like, not that our kids are going to be perfect in all this, but like, hey, I'm really struggling thinking through my kids' involvement with athletics and academics.
Yeah.
And you seem to have kids that have found that. How did you, and normally you find underneath that like it was hard. And what you think it is not what it really was. And I think we need to highlight this too, because, as we talk about how do we transition back to, kind of the idea here is how do we transition our families, our children back out of the summer into the fall, particularly into the school year. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, I think one of the most, and I don't want to be just self-serving with saying this, but I really do think one of the best things for any parent, this would work with any parent with any kid, is for them to re-engage their heart and mind in our church. Or whatever church they're a part of. But I'm saying, to me, it's like the couple that's in community group and it's a good community group over time and they can be honest about these things. I mean, we've had community groups before where someone's like, I don't know what to do with our kids for middle school. And they took like 30 minutes. You could tell it was huge on their heart. They had thought they figured out elementary school and just where they were living and the options that they had and some other things in their life, their story to tell. They just were like, we just need to talk to you guys. I'm like, this is exactly what a community group's about.
Yes.
And I think a good community leader lets space for that and goes, okay, now that can't be every time. But all right, we're going to pause a little bit on the sermon guide discussion for a second because we've got a couple in here who's wrestling with this, and who else are they going to talk to except us, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just, we have to, I agree with you. We have a high commitment church. We really do. I mean, there's a lot that we can offer and a lot that's expected, but I do think that it helps in every area of your life to be, connected to a Christian community. And as I was praying about this podcast and just thinking about what I was going to say, I feel like the Lord kept bringing up, was it Romans 12:2, I think it says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so I feel like it's so easy for us always to just look around us and look at the world and be like, okay, well, their kid's doing, 3 sports and they're doing this and their kid's really, winning all these awards. And so I have to do this and my kid has to do that. And it's just not true. I mean, people may think it's crazy that you have 3 or 4 church commitments a week or like whatever it is, but it's like, that's because the pattern of the world would be to like not do that, and so we need to be, focusing on Christ instead of falling into it's so easy to fall into those patterns of like what the world tells us is good or what we should be spending our time on or what we deserve to have, those types of things. But yeah, I think, like you said, being connected to a church community like Two Cities is just one of the best way to kind of shake up those patterns.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I always say that, and I heard Dr. Moore say this as well, that just one of the biggest impacts for children who walk with God in college versus those who don't, but grew up in a Christian home, is that they had at least one person in their life who wasn't mom and dad, who was a model and mentor for them. And I think, whether it's, our kids ministry, which you guys are obviously deeply involved in, or our student ministry, which you're involved in, you'll soon be involved in, just through having kids through it, you start to realize, that, man, this is so, I think I don't think I've told the story on the podcast, but I think I told this story to the staff, but I had an opportunity to take Addie to Puerto Rico for this college trip. And I was excited for multiple reasons. Oh, she's going to be around, godly college students, and we're going to get time together. And she just turned 13, and this is kind of a coming of age trip. All that. But we get there, and the first night we're at this house in Puerto Rico, and Vinny's leading this devotional like welcome time, and he's like, guys, glad you're here, and I'm really glad Addie Mercer's here because I had her when she was a kindergartner in my class, and I thought this is such a picture of the local church. Here's now our missions director, who's married, and I'm excited for him and all that God's doing in his life, and here's my daughter, whatever this is, 7 years later, maybe it was second grade, I can't remember, but 5 years later, and here is she knows Vinny. She knows Vinny because Vinny served in kids ministry, and then my kids, they were checked in. Listen to this. I think you were both at this event, but they for the Rise. Oh, you weren't. This was for the Rise Up event. Ryan Dooley was leading this, but for the Rise Up event, it wasn't called Rise Up, but something else. For leaving 5th grade, they said, all right, we want to tell you the number 1 checked in kid and the number 2 checked in. And they said the number 1 checked-in kid is William Mercer with 502 check-ins. And then they said the number 2 most checked-in kid is, and they said his name, and they said, with 232 check-ins. And it's like, my son has been checked in over twice as many times as the second most checked-in kid. And part of it's, I've been here for 9 years. He's been here the whole time. I'm at everything. I stay for multiple services. But I literally didn't feel, my thought was not, oh, poor William. He's been checked in so much. I literally thought, man, I cannot believe all the friends he has here.
Yeah.
And and everybody, I mean, the amount of people that just, Addie will tell me all the time, people come up to me and say hello.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the managing kids. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows the amount of, and that's such a blessing. And then you get to student ministry and you realize, wait a second, now I've got 2 or 3 people investing in my 6th grade son or daughter, and they're planning on doing this for years. And she's got 12 or 15 friends in her class. And they don't stop. They have 3-hour Wednesday night events and retreats at camps, and they're going to Carowinds. And I mean, it's just, I just beg people, again, like we led by the Holy Spirit in your conscience. But I just beg people, if it's right, if it fits for your family, would you consider deeply investing your family in those environments? Because those are incredible.
It's great.
I mean, when people leave our church, I'm like, don't take your kids out of our incredible environments. If you want to go find different preaching because you don't like something I said, you don't like a song we sang, whatever. Someone hurt your feelings in our church, I'm sorry. Don't take your kids out of these incredible environments. Guys, before we leave, any final words you just would say to parents as we head into the fall and head into the school year and head into, we thought, it's kind of how we started. We thought summer was going to be slow. It wasn't. That's how probably most parents listen and go,
Yeah.
I wasn't as slow as I thought. And what we know is it's going to be really quick, and all of a sudden it's going to be Halloween, and then Thanksgiving,
Yep.
and then Christmas, and then we're going to make all these resolutions, and it's going to be January.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do we say to parents as we close?
Consistency. Here's two things that I feel like are worth figuring out. One is it took me all the way to now I've got a 5th grader and a 4th grader next year. I've had 2 kids go through the same elementary, and I didn't consider the opportunity that I had. I'm able to go and eat lunch with my kids at their school. And I've made a commitment that next year, once a week, I'm going to eat lunch with my girls. And I've missed that. I've done it a few times here and there, but just being able to consistently do something with them on their turf, on their time, I feel like that's what builds relationship, builds memory. So find what it is that is consistent for you and to be able to invest in each child. And then the second one is just faith-based, like the same kind of consistency, but I've got a friend of mine who makes the most of like minor moments. And it's one of those carpool situations where we said, do you want us to drive your kids? And he said, actually, my boys and I spend time in the Word on the way to school, and that's not something we're willing to sacrifice. So no, I don't want to carpool. But he does that consistency, and they've been through several books of the Bible, and it's just one of those another one of those opportunities to build consistency.
Yeah, you've given some really helpful practical things. That's really good.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think I would just say overall, just surrender.
Yeah, there's
Because I think that we can wrongly think that we have control. If I just do more, if I just check off these boxes or eat more protein or whatever you
party hour, whatever. It's like it's just so many things they tell us to do.
Everything's just gonna get better.
Slept a couple more hours. I mean, it's just
I think that it's so easy to think that that it falls on us that we've got to just figure it out or get better at something or do something better. And the truth is we just need to surrender more to Christ and just look for those small moments, look for those opportunities, and just, center our family around him.
I love it. That's great. Well, I'll end with I think for me, one of the more profound things I've ever heard anyone say about parenting. So one of my mentors who's got 3 older kids, like my age now, his kids are, he said the perspective that parents should have, whether their kids are 2 or 12 or 22, he said this: you're raising a 30-year-old, which sounds, and here's what he said. He said, for example, if you think you're raising an 18-year-old, he said, you will make all of these decisions. Like he tells a story. He said his son was a good runner, not a great runner. And he had this big meet that would have been a big deal. And but prom was the night before. And he decided to go to prom. And my mentor tells a story, goes, I knew. He wasn't going to be crazy, but I knew if he goes to prom, he's not going to run well. But I'll let him. He said, here's the thing. He didn't run well. He married his prom date.
There you go.
And he said, sometimes we're so worried about the school they're going to get into.
Yeah.
We're so worried if they're going to make this club team. We're so worried. I mean, even some good things, and it's like, you're raising a 30-year-old. I mean, we want them out of the house at 18, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of time in God is gracious. And I think sometimes we give ourselves too short of a window with our kids. And we think, man, if they don't come to Christ, become their best version of themselves, and become an elite athlete or academic student by 14, we have failed. And I think we got more time. So guys, thank you so much. I think you've just been real. I think you've given some really practical helps and some encouragement. And so I hope you have found this helpful, whether you're listening online or watching on YouTube. I hope you'll, if you're around and you're a part of our church, hopefully you're already in our incredible environments like our kids ministry, our student ministry, maybe even our college ministry. But I would encourage you to go on our website, find out more about them, reach out to whoever is in charge and get connected, because it takes a church to raise a Christian. See you next week on Open Bible, Open Life.